There's a kind of tiredness that doesn't go away with sleep. You can close your eyes for 8 hours, wake up on time, and still feel like something inside you is dragging its feet. It's not your muscles. It's not your bones. It's the weight of something quieter, an emotional heaviness that clings to the soul like a shadow you can't shake off. And when someone asks what's wrong, you search for an answer that doesn't exist. Nothing catastrophic happened. Nothing dramatic fell apart. It's a slow leak, a steady drain, tiny stresses, unspoken fears, and invisible expectations piling up until your inner world feels dim and muted. People who feel this kind of exhaustion don't want to vanish. They just want a moment of silence from the internal chaos. They want the pressure to let go, the world to pause. The pretending to stop psychologists call this emotional burnout. The point where your inner battery has been depleted for so long that even existing feels like effort. It's what happens when you give and give and give, emotionally, mentally, socially, without receiving anything that fills you back up. From the outside, you look normal. You smile, you function, you meet your responsibilities. But internally, everything feels blurry, flat and distant, as if joy is a language you once spoke fluently, but can't quite recall anymore. And the interesting thing is that this isn't just emotional, it's scientific. Under prolonged pressure, the brain shifts into survival gear. It stops chasing joy and starts conserving energy. The reward system becomes quiet. Dopamine trickles instead of flows. And simple things that used to motivate you barely spark anymore. So when someone says they're just tired, it often means their mind has been carrying far more than their words reveal. Behind every weary soul is not a failure story, but a history of trying to cope, trying to show up, trying to remain strong while feeling fragile. People who are tired of existing are usually the ones who've held too much for too long. And they're the fixers, the peacekeepers, the ones who always handle things even when it hurts. They know how to endure storms, but they don't know how to rest when the weather clears. We live in a society that worships productivity and belittles stillness. You're applauded for overworking, but rarely for protecting your peace. You're told to push harder, move faster, do more. Rest feels like weakness. Stillness feels like failure. And so the exhaustion deepens because you feel guilty for wanting relief. One of the most painful truths is that being tired of living doesn't make you fragile. It makes you someone who's been resilient far longer than anyone realizes. You've swallowed emotions instead of releasing them. You've accepted responsibilities that were never yours. You've been trying to meet expectations no human can sustain. And after carrying that weight for years, something inside finally murmurs, I can't do this alone anymore. There's a term for when the world loses its color, anhedonia. It's not sadness, it's emptiness. Imagine life in grayscale, where even the good things feel neutral. That's the brain protecting itself, choosing numbness over disappointment. When exhaustion becomes chronic, even simple social interactions feel like heavy lifting. You cancel plans, withdraw into silence, seek solitude, not because you don't like people, but because your emotional system is tired of being on. Isolation becomes a shelter, a way to avoid more noise when everything inside is already loud. This kind of burnout isn't sudden. It accumulates. Every "I'm fine" you forced when you weren't, that every time you smiled instead of spoke your truth. Every moment you held back tears because you didn't want to burden anyone. All of it compounds until one day you realize you're living on emotional fumes. That's when you notice small shifts. Music doesn't move you. Laughter feels hollow. Time drags. Your mind drifts. Life starts to resemble repetition more than living. There's another layer to this, meaning fatigue. When you lose touch with what gives your life direction, everything feels heavier. It's not that you want to die. It's that you don't know how to live in a way that feels honest. When your days blend together, when everything feels like a loop, wake up, work, scroll, sleep, your soul starts asking deeper questions, not out of despair, but out of hunger. What is the point? Isn't a cry for escape. It's a plea for purpose. That question is actually the beginning of awakening, the mind's way of saying, something inside you is ready to change. Deep exhaustion is often a message, not a malfunction. It's your subconscious pointing to the parts of your life that no longer fit the person you're becoming. Maybe it's a job that drains you, a routine that suffocates you, or a version of yourself built entirely on survival. And the moment you recognize this misalignment, you're no longer broken. You're beginning to awaken. People who resurrect themselves from emotional fatigue often become some of the most compassionate humans on earth. They know the ache behind a polite smile. They notice the tremor beneath someone's "I'm okay." They appreciate honesty more than perfection because they've learned the cost of pretending exhaustion humbles you. It strips away ego and false identities. It teaches you what truly matters. Peace over productivity, authenticity over approval, presence over performance. If you recognize yourself in these words, if you feel the invisible weight, the quiet heaviness, the numbness that's hard to explain, know this: you are not strange. You are not alone. You are simply human in a world that doesn't know how to slow down. You don't have to heal everything right now. You don't have to force joy or fake strength. All you need for this moment is to stop running from your tiredness and really listen to it. Because sometimes exhaustion isn't an ending. Sometimes it's the beginning of a different kind of living. The moment you admit, "I'm tired of existing," something inside shifts. It's the first honest breath you've taken in years that honesty is not collapse. It's clarity. Until you name the fatigue, you'll keep trying to cure it with distractions, new goals, busyness, anything that feels like motion. But what your soul truly craves isn't movement. It's meaning. And meaning isn't found in achievements or accomplishments. It reveals itself in small, unguarded moments. Watching raindrops race down a window, sitting in soft silence, listening to a song that understands you better than people do. That's when your nervous system exhales. Because emotional rest is not laziness. It's healing. It's the body remembering what peace feels like. When you begin to rest emotionally, you start noticing how much of your life has been about survival instead of fulfillment. Your mind has been trying to protect you, not uplift you. Safety is a priority, but without meaning, safety becomes a cage. Here's the truth: most people never speak aloud. When you're tired of existing, it isn't because you're giving up. It's because you're longing for something worth waking up for. Something aligned with your heart instead of your obligations, and that something doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It just needs to be real. There's a psychological term, existential fatigue, when the soul grows weary from living a life that doesn't feel like its own. You can have stability, comfort, even success, and still feel empty if those things don't reflect your true self. Humans aren't designed to simply repeat routines. We're meant to feel alive inside them, so when the emptiness arrives, you begin questioning everything: your job, your relationships, your priorities. That questioning isn't a breakdown. It's your inner self knocking on the door, asking for authenticity. Energy doesn't only come from sleep, it comes from alignment. That's why hours doing what you love feel lighter than minutes doing what drains you. When the soul is invested, the body follows. When the soul is absent, even small tasks feel impossible. Healing begins with tiny acts of honesty, acknowledging what exhausts you, noticing what nourishes you, recognizing which responsibilities are genuine and which are fear-driven. You don't need drastic change. You need gentle truth. Because healing is not an event, it's a returning. Eventually, something inside you softens. You stop pushing yourself with impossible expectations. You stop treating rest like a luxury. You recognize that everyone is improvising their way through life. No one truly knows what they're doing. The race you think you're losing isn't real. Peace has never been behind achievement. It has always been behind acceptance. There is a quiet power in accepting your exhaustion without shame. It transforms your relationship with yourself. Instead of forcing energy, you engage in curiosity. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" you ask, "What is my soul trying to tell me?" That question is a lifeline back to yourself. You begin rediscovering beauty in soft, simple things. The warmth of sunlight, the comfort of familiar music, the calm of your own breath. These glimmers remind you that life doesn't need to be extraordinary to matter. It needs to be felt. Somewhere along the way, you forget how to feel because survival demanded numbness. But your way back is not through more control. It's through softness, through letting yourself be human again. Through crying without apologizing, resting without earning it, admitting you're lost without punishing yourself for it. Sometimes the bravest act is not endurance, it's stillness. One of the most profound findings in psychology is that small experiences of awe, staring at a sunset, hearing a moving melody, watching the night sky, can rekindle a sense of meaning and reduce burnout. Awe reminds you that existence is larger than pain. It reminds you that you're still capable of wonder. And that is the quiet miracle hidden inside emotional exhaustion. It strips away the noise so you can rebuild a life that feels real. Not a perfect life, not an impressive life, a true one. If you're in that space where every day feels heavy, where life feels muted, I want you to remember something gently. You are not failing at life. You are being called back to yourself. Your exhaustion is not a flaw. It is a compass pointing towards something more honest, more aligned, more alive. As you slowly reconnect with meaning, with stillness, with your own truth, the world begins to change. Colors return. Music awakens something. You laugh again, softly, unexpectedly. Not because everything is fixed, but because you finally stopped demanding perfection from yourself. You allowed yourself to simply be human. There will be days when the heaviness returns. That's normal. But now you'll understand it. You'll see it as a reminder, not a defeat, a sign that you feel deeply and live deeply. And that depth is not a burden. It's evidence of your humanity. Maybe being tired of existing doesn't mean your life is falling apart. Maybe it means your life is ready to shift. Maybe it means you've paused long enough to ask what a meaningful life looks like. And that pause, that moment of clarity, might be the quiet beginning of everything you've been longing for.